I don't remember the exact time I heard it the first night, but I remember the cold. It was one of those late October nights that makes the windows sweat from the inside. No wind, no sound from the street. The entire block was blacked out. Transformer fire down the hill had taken out the grid. It was just me, the kids, and that overwhelming stillness. I'd just finished a double at the hospital, 18 hours straight. I came home dragging, changed out of my scrubs, and collapsed onto the couch for what I thought would be 10 minutes. Instead, I woke to the sound of my baby monitor hissing. That crackle, that static, wasn't unusual in itself. The old monitor glitched when the microwave was on, or if my phone was too close. But this wasn't glitching. It was breathing, soft, wet, measured. Not the kind of noise you think you hear in static, not the imagination running wild in the dark. I sat up, fully awake now. The living room clock read 2:11 a.m. I froze, not out of fear, but confusion. Both my kids were supposed to be asleep. I checked the monitor screen. It was dark, but I could see just enough. The crib. The corner of the room. My son, 9 months old, sitting upright, eyes locked on something outside the frame. He wasn't crying. He wasn't even moving. Just staring, totally still. And the breathing kept going. I rushed to his room, opened the door so fast I almost tore the hinge. Nothing. No one there. My son looked up at me and blinked, almost as if I'd interrupted something. The air in the room felt colder than the hallway. I touched his skin, warm, normal. I listened, waited. Nothing but silence now. I told myself it was just the monitor acting up, or maybe I'd been dreaming. But I couldn't fall back asleep. That night stayed with me, not because of what I heard, but because of how off everything felt. Like I'd walked in on a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. The next few nights, things got weirder. Not dramatic, not cinematic. Just little things that added up. My son wouldn't sleep unless the light was on. He'd start crying, screaming, if I turned it off. I thought it was the power outage messing with his rhythm. Or maybe he was just teething. Then came the second incident. Same time, 2:11 a.m. The monitor crackled again. But this time, there wasn't breathing. There was a whisper. And it wasn't mine. And it wasn't a word I could understand. It was like someone was trying to speak, but couldn't fully form the words. Almost like it was underwater. And my son? Same position. Sitting up. Staring into the same corner. Unblinking. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. The baby's eyes weren't just looking at something. They were tracking it. Like whatever was in that corner was moving. I started leaving my phone recording overnight. The fourth night, I caught something. It was faint. Had to crank the volume all the way up. At first, it sounded like static again. Then came a voice. Low. Not threatening. Not angry. Just sad. Don't take him from me. I dropped the phone. Literally dropped it. I didn't even know I was shaking until I tried to pick it up. The voice sounded so close, not filtered by distance, not distorted by walls. It sounded like it was in the same room as the mic. I called the police. Of course I did. Told them I thought someone might be breaking in at night. They came by, checked everything. No forced entry, no footprints, no fingerprints, no explanation. I asked the neighbor to watch the kids and hired a local paranormal investigator the next night. It was a long shot, and honestly, I felt stupid doing it. But when he showed up, he took it seriously. Did an EMF sweep, thermal camera, that sort of thing. He focused on the crib, ran his fingers along the rails. Then he took out a small knife and started scraping under the paint. There were scratches, not visible unless you looked under the surface. They looked like claw marks, but uneven, human almost, but wrong. He asked me who lived here before. I told him I didn't know. I'd only been renting the place 6 months. He made some calls. Then he told me something I can't forget. A woman named Clara lived here with her newborn about 7 years ago. Her child died in the crib. SIDS, probably. Clara didn't handle it well. A week later, she took her own life. Right in that nursery. I moved out the next day. Didn't even give notice. Left half my stuff behind. We stayed at my sister's for a while, then got a new apartment a few towns over. Nothing fancy, but clean, safe, new. No history. Fresh paint. Brand new everything. The first week was quiet. Then, just after we settled in, the baby cried. Not unusual. Babies cry. But when I checked the time, it was 2:11 a.m. Exactly. Every single night. The worst part? A few weeks ago, he started saying his first real words. He's just barely learning to talk, still babbles mostly. But sometimes, in the dark, I'll hear him on the monitor. Not crying, not scared, just whispering. Clara. Again and again. Clara. Clara. I don't know anyone by that name, but I think he does. The road signs didn't make sense. That's the first thing I remember thinking. I'd been driving for almost 10 hours straight, heading west toward Arizona, trying to make time before classes started. I had one duffel bag in the back seat, a cooler with Red Bulls and gas station burritos, and a road map that I hadn't touched since the morning. It was one of those stretches of highway that looked the same for miles, just flat black top, no other headlights, and nothing but low trees on either side. The dashboard clock said 3:12 a.m. I remember that because I was trying to calculate how much farther I could go before I'd need to pull over and sleep. I still had half a tank, and the GPS showed my next turn was 41 minutes out. But then I saw a sign, just off the right shoulder, metal plate, weather-worn, green with white letters. HWY 63. North, 1 mile. I frowned. Highway 63 wasn't on my route. Actually, Highway 63 wasn't on any of the maps I checked when I planned the trip. But my GPS blinked. Signal dropped. Gray screen. Buffering dot. Dead zone. I figured it was a back route. Something not logged in the GPS yet. There was no other traffic anyway. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I turned onto the exit ramp. Immediately, the light changed. It got darker. Not just from the lack of streetlights, but deeper somehow. Like the trees on either side were crowding in. Branches too close. Road too narrow. I flicked on my high beams. They didn't reach as far as they should have. The light felt swallowed. I told myself I was just tired. I turned on the radio to keep myself awake. Dead air. I hit scan. Once, twice. Then it stopped. A scratchy song started playing. At first, I couldn't place it. But then the melody hit me. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." It was my mom's voice. No, not hers. But the same song she used to hum when I was 6, back when she was tucking me in after night shifts. Except this version, it sounded like it was playing on a vinyl record, warped, slow, distant. The kind of sound that shouldn't come from a digital radio. I looked at the display. Station read, dash, dash, dash. Just 3 dashes. No frequency. I turned it off. The silence that followed was worse. Then I saw the mile marker. Mile 52. A few minutes later, mile 51. I thought maybe I was just imagining it. Then mile 50. Backwards. They were going the wrong way. I leaned forward in my seat. I slowed down. Checked the odometer, still climbing. But the signs were counting down. And that's when I saw her. At first, it looked like a plastic bag or something blowing in the wind, but it wasn't moving right. It was still, perfectly still, white. As I got closer, I realized it was a person, a woman, maybe mid-30s, wearing a white dress. She was standing on the right shoulder of the highway, head bowed, barefoot, facing away from me. I slowed to a crawl, rolled down the window a crack. Nothing, no movement. I drove past slowly, rubbernecking just to be sure. And then, a minute later, she was there again. Same posture, same exact spot, but further up. I hadn't seen her move, hadn't seen her walk, but she was ahead of me again, always just ahead. I started to sweat, turned off the heat, gripped the wheel tighter, checked the time, 3:12 a.m. Again, I tapped the screen. It didn't change. I tapped it harder. Still 3:12. I pulled out my phone. Locked. Unlocked. 3:12. I drove for what felt like half an hour. The woman kept appearing. Same distance each time. No matter how fast I went, how slow I went, I could never catch up. Then the gas needle froze. Not full, not empty, just stuck. I was still driving, still moving. But everything had stopped changing. The trees, the light, the time. I don't even remember what came next. It all blurred. Until I saw a car wreck, smoke rising, flash of metal in the brush off the shoulder. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Then I realized it was my car. Same model, same Arizona plates, same dented bumper from the parking lot back home. I slowed to a stop. Hazards blinking. Stepped out. Walked closer. The car was burned. Windows melted. Tires shredded. I looked inside. Driver's seat. And I swear to God, it was me. Blackened. Charred. Same hoodie. Same college sticker on the back window. I fell backward. Hit the dirt. Scrambled to my feet and ran back to my car. Turned around. Started driving back the way I came. But the road, it stretched endlessly. No exit signs. No turnoffs. No other vehicles. Just more of the same trees. Same lights. Same mile markers. Still counting down. Mile 45. Mile 44. I was trapped. I hit the gas. I screamed into the silence. I hit the dashboard. Everything spun. Felt like I was driving in circles, even though the road never turned. I closed my eyes. I kept them shut. I counted to 10, then to 20. And when I opened them again, I was parked. Engine off. Seat reclined. Sunlight through the windshield. birds chirping. I was on the side of the real highway. US Route 84. Clock read 3:07 p.m. 12 hours later. No sign of Highway 63. No sign of the wreck. No woman in white. I called the police. Told them I thought I'd blacked out. They took a report. Asked me if I'd taken anything. I hadn't. I mentioned the road. They looked at me strange. There's no Highway 63 in this state, one of them said. Not for 100 miles in any direction. They told me it was probably just fatigue. Recommended I sleep at a rest stop next time. I nodded. Thanked them. But here's the thing. I checked later. I dug into road maps. Department of Transportation archives, local records. There has never been a Highway 63 in that county. No wreck reported. No matching vehicle fire. Nothing. But sometimes, not every night, but sometimes, if I'm awake at 3:12 a.m. and my car radio is on, it flickers, just for a second, and that same song plays. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. There was a moment, right around 3:28 a.m., where I genuinely thought I was losing it. I'd been working the overnight slot at a tiny AM radio station in southern Illinois. Technically, it was college radio, but it ran 24/7, and someone always had to be in the chair. Graveyard shifts paid a little more, and with tuition being what it was, I volunteered. I wasn't broadcasting anything special, just reruns of smooth jazz sets and pre-programmed playlists. Most nights, I sat alone with one mic, an analog mixer that crackled if you breathed too close, and a cracked coffee pot that hadn't been cleaned since the 80s. The station didn't get callers. We didn't do interviews. The overnights weren't live, even though I had to be there to babysit the air. It was a job where nothing happened. Until one night, something did. It was storming. Hard. Like the kind of Midwest thunderstorm that makes the walls flex and the light flicker, even when you're not sure why. Wind howled outside the paneled windows. Rain came in sheets, and that old antenna on the roof moaned every time the gusts kicked up. I was halfway through rereading an old philosophy textbook, nodding off between tracks, when the monitor in front of me flickered. For a second, I thought it was just weather interference. But then the board lit up. Make too hot. The red LED glowed like someone had keyed it manually. Except, I was the only person in the building. Make 2 wasn't even used anymore. It sat across the room, facing an empty chair. No cable plugged in. I leaned over and tapped the fader down. Nothing changed. The light stayed on. Then, a voice. Not mine, not from the system. Not any recording I'd ever scheduled. Just crying. Soft, like someone trying to hold it in. A woman, gasping between sobs. And then, she said my name. Caleb. I froze, looked at the console. No cued audio, no open lines. Nothing was supposed to be live. I checked the mic again, still lit. Caleb, why did you take my shift? My heart started pounding. I backed away slowly. Looked around the studio, still alone. I opened the security feed on the studio computer. 4 cameras, front door, lobby, hallway, and studio entrance, all clear. No motion. No one had entered the building in the last 5 hours. I muted the monitor. The crying cut off instantly. I called the station manager the next morning, told him something weird had come through the feed. He brushed it off, blamed the storm, maybe a bleed from a nearby signal. But this wasn't static. This wasn't a glitch. This was personal. The next night, I brought a recorder, just a handheld digital one from my dorm. At around the same time, 3:10-ish, it started again. Only this time, it wasn't just sobbing. The phone rang. That phone never rang. We didn't even list the studio number anymore, but the line blinked. Caller ID, unavailable, timestamp. I picked it up. W. Keel, you're on. Nothing. Then a faint, breathy whisper. "You're in my seat." Click. I didn't sleep when I got home that morning. I just sat on my bed, recorder in hand, replaying that moment. And I swear, as I scrubbed the file, in the background behind the whisper, just under the static, I could hear jazz, and not just any jazz. The same saxophone run that had played just before the old DJ died. I didn't know that at the time, not until a few days later, when I went digging. Basement storage room, old broadcast logs. Most of it was water damaged and crumbling. But I found something, a binder. Waukel, overnight rotation, 2007. Inside, notes, scribbles in the margins. Mic 2 Phantom active again. Unscheduled audio at 3:12 a.m. Female voice, not on tape. And then, I saw her name. D. Howard, Deborah Howard. The overnight DJ died in the chair 15 years ago. Heart attack, alone, dead air for 6 hours before they found her. Her final shift log was blank, except for one line, a timestamp, 3:12 a.m., and the words, signing off, in red ink. I asked the manager about her. He didn't want to talk, said the old crew heard things for a while after she died, but most had moved on. He told me if I was rattled, I could take weekend shifts. I stayed one more night. And it happened again. Mic went live, lights flickered, phone rang, same whisper. "You're in my seat." But this time, it wasn't just a voice. The room dropped in temperature. The board popped, speakers hissed. Then, every channel, 1 through 12, lit up all at once. And under it all, that broken, warbled saxophone melody, like it was crawling out of the walls. I ran, left the coffee still heating, didn't lock up. I emailed the station the next morning and quit. A few weeks later, I transferred schools, moved 2 states away, tried to forget. And for a while, I did. Until one night, alone in my apartment, pulling an all-nighter for a midterm, my phone rang. No name, no number, just a black screen. I answered. Silence. But just before the line cut, I heard it again. "You never signed off."